Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today, something that affects every single one of us, whether we realize it or not. We talk a lot about success, money, dreams, and goals. But today, we need to talk about mental health and the impact of climate change, because if your mind isn't right and your world isn't right, nothing else truly works. Mental health is not a weakness. It's not something to be ashamed of. Your mind is the control center of your life. If your thoughts are broken, your dreams will struggle to survive. And just like our minds need care, our planet needs care too. Climate change isn't just melting ice or raising sea levels. It's affecting how people think, feel, and survive every day. Think about it. Natural disasters, rising temperatures, food shortages, and polluted air create stress, fear, and uncertainty. Farmers worry about crops. Families worry about homes. Young people worry about the future. That pressure builds up in the mind. Anxiety increases. Depression grows. Hope begins to shrink. But here's the powerful truth. We are not powerless. Just like you can heal your mind with support, discipline, and faith, we can heal this planet with awareness, responsibility, and action. Small choices matter. Speaking up matters. Taking care of each other matters. When you protect your mental health, you protect your future. When you protect the earth, you protect generations that haven't even been born yet. This is not just a scientific issue. It's a human issue. It's about life, dignity, peace, and survival. So today, I challenge you, take care of your mind, take care of your environment, and take responsibility for the world you are leaving behind, because a strong mind and a healthy planet together create a powerful future. Thank you. Mental health is essential to overall well-being because it affects how we think, feel, act, and handle the challenges of daily life. It shapes our ability to make decisions, build relationships, cope with stress, and maintain a sense of purpose. Just like physical health, mental health needs regular care and attention. When a person's mental health is strong, they are better able to face difficulties, adapt to change, and recover from setbacks. But when mental health is ignored or neglected, even simple tasks can feel overwhelming, and life can begin to lose balance and direction. Many people mistakenly believe that mental health only matters when someone is seriously ill, but the truth is that everyone has mental health just as everyone has physical health. It exists on a wide spectrum, and it can change over time depending on life experiences, environment, relationships, and personal struggles, stress from work, financial pressure, family responsibilities, social expectations, and uncertainty about the future can slowly weaken a person's mental well-being if not managed properly. When this happens, people may experience anxiety, depression, lack of motivation, emotional exhaustion, or loss of self-worth. Good mental health allows individuals to function productively in society. It helps students focus on learning, workers perform efficiently, parents care for their families, and communities grow stronger. When people are mentally healthy, they communicate better, show empathy, solve problems calmly, and contribute positively to their surroundings. On the other hand, poor mental health can affect productivity, relationships, and even physical health. Long-term stress and emotional pain are closely linked to heart disease, weakened immune systems, sleep disorders, and many other physical conditions. This shows that mental health and physical health are deeply connected and cannot be separated. Despite its importance, mental health is often surrounded by silence, shame, and misunderstanding. In many societies, talking about emotional struggles is seen as a weakness. People are told to be strong, deal with it, or pray it away, instead of being encouraged to seek professional help or emotional support. This stigma prevents many individuals from sharing their pain, leading them to suffer in isolation. When mental health is treated like a taboo, problems grow silently and can result in serious consequences, including substance abuse, self-harm, and even suicide. Supporting mental health means creating environments where people feel safe to express their feelings without fear of judgment. It means families listening with compassion, schools teaching emotional intelligence, workplaces promoting work-life balance, and governments investing in mental health care. Simple actions such as regular rest, exercise, healthy communication, social connection, and asking for help when needed can make a powerful difference in a person's mental state. Professional support from counselors, psychologists, and doctors is also a vital part of maintaining mental well-being. Mental health is not just an individual issue, it is a community and global concern. When large numbers of people struggle mentally, it affects the economy, social harmony, education systems, and overall quality of life. Strong mental health builds resilient individuals, and resilient individuals create strong societies. When people are emotionally stable, hopeful, and supported, they are more likely to work toward progress, peace, and positive change in the world around them. Caring for mental health is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of self-awareness and strength. A healthy mind allows people to dream, to grow, to love, and to overcome obstacles. It gives them the power to face uncertainty with courage and to remain steady during difficult times. Mental health is the foundation upon which confidence, success, relationships, and happiness are built. Without it, even material success loses its meaning. Climate change is not only an environmental or scientific issue, it is also a growing mental and emotional burden on people across the world. As temperatures rise, weather patterns become unpredictable, and natural disasters grow more frequent and intense, millions of individuals are forced to live with constant uncertainty and fear. This continuous exposure to environmental stress creates anxiety, emotional exhaustion, and a deep sense of insecurity about the future. People begin to worry not only about their present safety, but also about whether their children and future generations will be able to live stable and healthy lives. Communities that depend on agriculture and natural resources are among the most affected. Farmers who once relied on consistent seasons now face droughts, floods, and crop failures that destroy their livelihoods. Each failed harvest adds financial pressure, debt, and emotional distress. When a person works hard yet still cannot control the outcome due to climate conditions, feelings of helplessness and despair grow. Over time, this constant struggle can lead to depression, anxiety disorders, and even suicidal thoughts, especially when there is little support available. Natural disasters such as hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, heat waves, and floods leave behind more than just physical destruction. They leave emotional scars that often last a lifetime. People who lose their homes, loved ones, or sense of safety can suffer from trauma and post-traumatic stress. The sudden displacement forces families into unfamiliar environments where they may feel isolated, powerless, and disconnected. Children exposed to these disasters often develop fear, nightmares, poor concentration in school, and long-term emotional difficulties. Rising temperatures also affect mental health in less visible but equally serious ways. Extreme heat has been linked to increased irritability, aggression, sleep problems, and reduced concentration. When people cannot rest properly due to heat, their ability to manage stress weakens. Prolonged exposure to heat can worsen existing mental health conditions and increase hospital admissions for psychological distress. In crowded cities with limited green spaces, the effects become even more intense, especially for low-income communities that lack proper cooling systems and healthcare access. The uncertainty created by climate change also leads to a form of chronic stress known as climate anxiety. Many young people experience constant worry about the future of the planet, questioning whether their dreams, careers, and families will even be possible in a damaged world. This overwhelming fear can lead to helplessness, withdrawal from social life, loss of motivation, and a feeling that their actions no longer matter. Some individuals feel guilt for simply existing in a world that is being harmed, which adds another layer of emotional pain. Migration caused by climate change further increases mental health challenges. When people are forced to leave their homes due to rising sea levels, drought, or conflict over resources, they lose their sense of identity, culture, and community. Adjusting to new environments while carrying the trauma of loss creates deep psychological strain. Language barriers, discrimination, poverty, and lack of support services make recovery even more difficult. Refugees and displaced families often experience prolonged stress, grief, and emotional instability. Healthcare systems around the world are already struggling to meet mental health needs, and climate change increases this pressure. As climate-related disasters become more frequent, the number of people needing psychological support continues to rise. In many developing regions, mental health services are limited or non-existent, leaving large populations to cope without professional care. This creates a cycle where emotional suffering intensifies and spreads through families and communities. The emotional impact of climate change is often invisible compared to physical destruction, but it is just as damaging. While buildings can be rebuilt and roads repaired, the damage to the human mind takes much longer to heal. Fear, uncertainty, loss, and stress accumulate over time, slowly weakening emotional resilience. As people struggle to adapt to a rapidly changing environment, the mental pressure continues to grow, touching students, workers, parents, and elderly citizens alike. Environmental disasters directly affect human psychology in powerful and lasting ways because they strike suddenly, destroy stability, and leave people feeling helpless in the face of forces they cannot control. When floods, earthquakes, wildfires, cyclones, or droughts hit, they do more than damage homes and land. They shatter people's sense of safety. The human mind depends on routine, predictability, and security to function well, and when these are taken away in an instant, emotional balance is deeply disturbed. One of the strongest psychological effects of environmental disasters is trauma. People who survive terrifying events often experience intense fear, flashbacks, nightmares, and constant alertness long after the disaster has passed. The memory of rushing water, burning flames, or collapsing buildings can replay in the mind again and again, making it difficult to sleep, concentrate, or feel safe. Even months or years later, simple sounds like rain, wind, or sirens can trigger panic and emotional distress. This kind of trauma can affect both adults and children, but children are especially vulnerable because their minds are still developing and may lack the ability to fully understand or process what has happened. Loss is another major psychological impact. Environmental disasters often take away homes, possessions, livelihoods, and loved ones all at once. A person may lose in a single day what took a lifetime to build. This sudden loss creates deep grief, sorrow, and emotional numbness. When people are forced to start over with nothing, feelings of hopelessness and despair can easily take hold. The emotional pain of loss is not only about material things, it is also about memories, identity, and the feeling of belonging that comes from familiar places. Displacement adds another layer of psychological pressure. After disasters, many people are forced to leave their communities and move into temporary shelters or unfamiliar areas. Being separated from neighbors, routines, schools, and workplaces creates a strong feeling of isolation and uncertainty. The loss of community support weakens emotional strength, and people may feel like strangers in their own lives. Children lose their friends and sense of normalcy, while adults struggle with unemployment, financial stress, and responsibility for their family's survival. Environmental disasters also increase the risk of long-term mental health disorders. Anxiety and depression often rise sharply after such events. Constant worry about future disasters, financial recovery, and personal safety keeps the mind trapped in fear. Some individuals withdraw socially, losing interest in activities they once enjoyed. Others turn to harmful coping methods such as alcohol or substance use in an attempt to numb emotional pain. Without proper mental health support, these problems can continue for years and affect entire communities. In many cases, the psychological effects are made worse by helplessness and lack of control. When disasters are linked to climate change, people often feel that no matter what they do, the situation is too large to stop. This feeling of powerlessness weakens motivation and hope. It creates a belief that suffering is unavoidable, which can lead to emotional exhaustion and resignation. When people lose hope in the future, their ability to rebuild their lives and dreams becomes much harder. Another hidden psychological impact is the breakdown of trust and safety. After disasters, people may lose trust in their environment, their governments, or even in life itself. If warning systems fail or recovery support is slow, feelings of anger, betrayal, and frustration grow. These emotions can turn into long-lasting resentment and emotional instability, weakening social harmony. The emotional effects of environmental disasters do not disappear when physical rebuilding begins. Roads, houses, and schools may be restored, but the human mind carries invisible wounds that take longer to heal. Psychological pain often remains long after the world appears to return to normal, affecting relationships, education, work performance, and overall quality of life. Without emotional support, counseling, and strong community care, the mental impact of environmental disasters continues to shape lives in quiet but deeply damaging ways. Young generations are especially affected emotionally and mentally by the growing crisis of climate change because they are living at a time when the future feels more uncertain than ever before. Children, teenagers, and young adults are constantly exposed to news about rising temperatures, natural disasters, pollution, species extinction, and warnings about a damaged planet. This repeated exposure shapes the way they view the world and their own future. Instead of dreaming freely about what lies ahead, many young people now grow up with fear, worry, and a heavy sense of responsibility for problems they did not create. One of the strongest emotional effects on young people is climate anxiety. Many students feel overwhelmed by the thought that the world they will inherit may be unsafe, unstable, or unlivable. They worry about whether they will have access to clean water, food-safe homes, and stable jobs. This constant worry can lead to stress, panic, sleep problems, and difficulty concentrating in school. When the future feels threatened, motivation to study, plan careers, or set long-term goals can slowly weaken. Young people are also deeply affected by feelings of helplessness and frustration. They are often told that climate change is a global problem, yet they feel powerless to stop it on their own. Watching governments, corporations, and adults argue or delay action creates anger and emotional exhaustion. Many young people feel that the adults in power have failed to protect the planet and their future. This loss of trust can lead to sadness, resentment, and emotional distance from society and leadership. Social media plays a major role in shaping young people's emotional response to climate change. While it helps spread awareness, it also exposes them daily to images of floods, fires, dying animals, and displaced families. Constant scrolling through such distressing content can overwhelm the mind and create continuous emotional pressure. Without enough positive balance or emotional guidance, young people may feel trapped in a world of constant crisis with no escape from bad news. Children are especially vulnerable because they are still developing emotionally and mentally. When young children experience environmental disasters such as floods or heat waves, they may not fully understand what is happening, but they strongly feel the fear of adults around them. This can lead to nightmares, separation anxiety, sudden changes in behavior, and emotional insecurity. If not properly supported, these early emotional wounds can affect their development for many years. Teenagers face a different kind of emotional struggle. At a stage when they are already dealing with identity, peer pressure, and academic stress, climate change adds another heavy emotional burden. Many feel torn between enjoying their youth and feeling guilty about contributing to environmental damage. Some struggle with eco-guilt, feeling responsible for pollution, waste, or lifestyle choices even when they have little control over systems and industries. This guilt can quietly harm self-esteem and emotional balance. Young activists who speak out about climate change also experience emotional pressure. While their courage is powerful, they often face criticism, online harassment, and the emotional weight of carrying global concerns at such a young age. The stress of trying to change the world while still managing school, family expectations, and personal growth can lead to burnout, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Economic fears linked to climate change also affect young minds. Many worry about job security in a changing climate, rising living costs, and whether certain careers will still exist. This uncertainty creates long-term stress and can shape life choices based on fear rather than passion or confidence. Despite their strength and awareness, young generations are carrying an emotional load that no previous generation has faced on such a global scale. They are growing up with the belief that the future is fragile, and this belief shapes their thoughts, emotions, relationships, and sense of purpose every single day. Protecting the environment is also protecting mental health because the condition of the natural world directly influences how people think, feel, and live. Human beings have always been deeply connected to nature for survival, comfort, and balance. Clean air, safe water, green spaces, and stable weather patterns create a sense of security and peace that supports emotional well-being. When the environment is healthy, people generally experience lower stress levels, better mood, and stronger emotional stability. When the environment is damaged, polluted, or unpredictable, it quietly but strongly affects mental health. Access to natural spaces plays a powerful role in emotional balance. Parks, trees, rivers, oceans, and open skies provide a sense of calm that crowded urban environments often lack. Being surrounded by nature has been shown to reduce anxiety, clear the mind, and improve overall mood. When these natural spaces are destroyed by deforestation, pollution, or uncontrolled development, communities lose important emotional support systems. The absence of green spaces increases feelings of restlessness, stress, and emotional fatigue, especially in densely populated cities. Environmental protection also reduces fear and uncertainty. When people trust that the air they breathe is clean, the water they drink is safe, and the food they eat is not polluted, they feel more secure in their daily lives. Pollution, contamination, and environmental damage create invisible threats that constantly worry the mind. The fear of disease, toxic exposure, and long-term health effects adds an extra layer of anxiety that slowly wears down emotional resilience. Living in a polluted environment means living in a state of continuous psychological alertness. Community well-being is closely tied to environmental conditions. When neighborhoods are clean, safe, and connected to nature, people are more likely to socialize, exercise, and build positive relationships. These social connections are vital for good mental health. In contrast, dirty, unsafe, and degraded environments often lead to isolation, conflict, and reduced social trust. People are less likely to spend time outside, interact with neighbors, or feel pride in their community. This isolation increases loneliness, depression, and emotional withdrawal. Protecting the environment also supports mental health by reducing the trauma caused by environmental disasters. Strong environmental policies, responsible land use, and sustainable practices can lower the severity of floods, landslides, fires, and heat waves. When disasters are prevented or reduced, the emotional suffering, displacement, and trauma that usually follow are also reduced. Prevention becomes a form of emotional protection for entire communities. Environmental protection is deeply connected to economic stability, which strongly affects mental health. When natural resources are managed responsibly, people have reliable access to jobs in agriculture, fishing, tourism, and renewable energy. Stable income reduces stress, family conflict, and emotional insecurity. When the environment is destroyed, livelihoods are lost, poverty increases, and financial anxiety becomes widespread. This economic pressure often leads to depression, family breakdown, and community instability. Taking part in environmental protection also gives people a sense of control and purpose, which is essential for mental well-being. When individuals feel that their actions matter, that they are contributing to something bigger than themselves, their self-worth and emotional strength increase. Planting trees, reducing waste, saving energy, or joining community clean-up efforts may seem small, but these actions create hope. Hope is one of the strongest protections against anxiety and despair. There is also a powerful emotional bond between culture and the environment. Many communities define their identity through rivers, forests, mountains, and farmland passed down through generations. When these natural spaces are destroyed, people feel as though a part of their history and identity has been taken from them. This cultural loss creates deep emotional wounds that affect mental health across generations. Protecting the environment is therefore not only about saving animals, forests, and oceans, it is about protecting the human mind. A clean, stable, and healthy environment allows people to feel safe, hopeful, and emotionally balanced in their daily lives. The more we care for the earth, the more we quietly care for our own mental and emotional well-being. Individual actions and awareness can create global change because every large movement in human history has always begun with small decisions made by ordinary people. Climate change and mental health may seem like overwhelming global problems, but real change does not start from conferences or powerful institutions alone. It begins with individual choices, daily habits, and the willingness of people to care, learn, and act with responsibility. When a person becomes aware of how their actions affect the environment and the well-being of others, their behavior slowly begins to shift, and that shift spreads from one person to another. Awareness is the first and most powerful step toward change. When people understand the connection between their lifestyle and environmental damage, they begin to question wasteful habits such as excessive consumption, plastic use, energy overuse, and pollution. Awareness encourages people to choose sustainable options, conserve resources, and support eco-friendly products and practices. These individual decisions may seem small, but when millions of people make these choices together, the impact becomes powerful and measurable. Individual actions also influence social behavior. When one person recycles, saves electricity, plants trees, or reduces waste, others begin to notice and reflect. Families influence families, students influence friends, and communities influence neighborhoods. Slowly, new habits become social norms. What once felt optional begins to feel like a shared responsibility. In this way, personal responsibility grows into collective action, and collective action turns into social change. Individual awareness is also essential in shaping government and corporate behavior. Leaders respond to public demand. When people speak up, vote with awareness, support environmental laws, and hold powerful institutions accountable, policies begin to change. Companies begin to shift away from harmful practices when consumers demand sustainability. Governments invest in renewable energy and environmental protection when citizens clearly show that these issues matter to them. The voice of a single person may seem small, but when joined with millions of others, it becomes a force that no system can ignore. Personal action also plays a major role in strengthening mental health. When individuals feel that they are contributing positively to the world, they develop a sense of purpose and control. This sense of meaning reduces feelings of helplessness and despair that often come with climate anxiety. People begin to feel that they are not just victims of a global crisis, but active participants in creating solutions. This shift in mindset builds emotional strength and resilience. Education and self-awareness further multiply the power of individual action. When people take time to learn about environmental issues, climate science, and sustainable living, they become more confident in their choices. They can share accurate information, correct misinformation, and inspire thoughtful discussions within their communities. Schools, families, and social platforms become spaces where awareness grows and spreads. A single informed individual can influence hundreds of others simply by sharing knowledge and practicing what they believe. Young people play a particularly strong role in this process. When students and youth groups organize cleanup drives, awareness campaigns, tree planting programs, and environmental clubs, they send a powerful message that responsibility begins early. Their energy, creativity, and determination inspire older generations and remind society that the future is worth protecting. These small, organized actions shape values that last a lifetime. Individual efforts also build emotional connection to the environment. When a person plants a tree, protects a river, or saves an animal, they develop a personal bond with nature. This emotional connection increases responsibility and care. Nature stops feeling like something distant and instead becomes something personal and worth protecting. This emotional investment strengthens both environmental responsibility and mental well-being. Even in daily routines, small choices carry weight. Turning off unnecessary lights, using public transport, conserving water, reducing food waste, choosing reusable items, and supporting sustainable brands all contribute quietly to global change. None of these actions alone can stop climate change, but together they form the foundation of a new way of living that respects both the planet and human life. When awareness guides action and action becomes habit, global change slowly but steadily becomes possible.